Ukraine is urging the United Nations and other international organisations to do more to rescue civilians and provide critical aid to areas under attack from Russia. In particular, officials say more help is needed to get to people in the besieged southern city of Mariupol. There are hopes for another attempt at a humanitarian corridor there today, but no confirmation yet if that is underway. Russian forces have been trying to take full control of Mariupol for several weeks. The UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres is due to meet the Russian President Vladimir Putin in Moscow next week before travelling on to Kyiv. Earlier, President Zelensky warned that Russia could attack other countries, saying the invasion of Ukraine is only the beginning. Simon Jones reports.
Under attack, Ukraine's second city, Kharkiv. Russia's assault is intensifying, the dangers are clear. Despite the destruction, some residents are determined to stay.
We are going to fight as long as it is needed for the victory.
Fresh attempts are being made to get civilians out of Mariupol. 100,000 people are still thought to be trapped there. Ukraine's Deputy Prime Minister says the evacuation will only succeed with the help of the UN.
UN right now just observes what is happening in Mariupol, and if the world unites and demands that this evacuation happens, only then it can happen.
To try to halt the fighting, the head of the UN will travel to Moscow on Tuesday for talks with President Putin before going to Kyiv to meet President Zelensky on Thursday. There is a mood of urgency. These satellite images are said to show a second mass grave discovered on the outskirts of Mariupol. This family, who've made it to safety, say they walked for 5 days to escape the conflict.
We will never forget what happened. We cannot. But we need to keep our spirits up and raise our children.
Russia says it has captured an arms depot in the Kharkiv region containing thousands of tons of ammunition. The UK says it's considering expanding military support to Kyiv by giving Poland tanks to replace those Warsaw is sending to Ukraine.
We're also looking more at what we can do to backfill in countries such as Poland, who may want to send heavier weaponry to help defend the Ukrainians.
And the Ukrainian president has welcomed another UK commitment.
I
am grateful to our British friends for the important symbolic decision announced today to return the embassy to Kyiv. The United Kingdom became the 21st country to return a diplomatic mission to our capital. And this shows that we're not the only ones who believe in the victory of life over death.
Russia has for the first time admitted that at least one crew member died when its Black Sea flagship Moskva sank last week. 27 others are unaccounted for. Ukraine says it struck the vessel with missiles. Moscow has blamed the sinking on a fire. There's claim and counterclaim, but President Zelensky says the attack on Ukraine is only the beginning and that Russia intends to invade other countries. Simon Jones, BBC News.
Our correspondent Joe Inwood is in the capital Kyiv and has the latest on the developing situation in the country.
The area where the fighting is now concentrated is in the east of the country, a place called the Donbass. I'm sure everyone will have heard of that many times now. This is the heartland of where the uprising started, of the insurgency started many years ago, but it's also, as a consequence, a place where the Ukrainian forces are very, very heavily fortified. I was there just a week ago or so in some of the trenches, and you can see the Ukrainians are very well dug in. These are well-armed, well-equipped and very determined soldiers. And so for the Russians, the attacks that are going to be launching there at the moment, they're coming from above, they're aerial bombardments. They're going to be devastating, but they're going to be coming up against a determined Ukrainian defence. And so a lack of movement, I guess, shouldn't be that surprising.
And finally, for the moment, Joe, you mentioned that hope rather than expectation was the mantra for the efforts around the humanitarian corridor today. Is it the same for the meetings expected next week between the UN boss and Vladimir Putin and President Zelensky?
Yeah, I think probably even more so. I mean, although Antonio Guterres, he is probably the world's most senior diplomat, the head of the United Nations, is going to be seeing both presidents, where there could be a window for compromise, a window for agreement, when you've got two sides that are so vastly differing in what they want and what they could expect to get or could accept on behalf of their populations. How he's going to find common ground there, I don't know. There will be other gains to be made, I'm sure, some talk of drawing down the beginning of a process maybe, but when you have a situation where one side essentially wants to take over large amounts of the territory of another, well, how we can find a compromise there, it's quite difficult to know.
Joe Inwood reporting from Kyiv.